October by Robert Bridges. Read for LibriVox.org by That Kid's Mom. August 31st, 2017. April, a dance in play, met with his lover May, where she came garlanded. The blossoming boughs o'erhead were thrilled to bursting by the dazzle from the sky and the wild music there that shook the odorous air. Each moment some new birth hastened to deck the earth in the gay sunbeams. Between their kisses dreams, and dream and kiss were rife with laughter of mortal life. But this late day of golden fall is still as a picture upon a wall, or a poem in a book lying open, unread, or whatever else is shrined when the Virgin hath vanished, footsteps of eternal mind on the path of the dead. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. The Flowering Tree by Robert Bridges. Read for LibriVox.org by That Kid's Mom. August 31st, 2017. What fairy fanned my dreams while I slept in the sun, as if a flowering tree were standing over me? Its young stems, strong and lithe, went branching overhead, and willowy sprays around fell tasseling to the ground, all with wild blossom gay, as is the cherry in May, when her fresh flaunt of leaf gives crowns of golden green. The sunlight was enmeshed in the shifting splendor, and I saw through on high to soft lakes of blue sky. Ne'er was mortal slumber so lapped in luxury. Rather, Endymion would I sleep in the sun, 'neath the trees divinely with day's azure above, when my love of beauty is met by beauty's love. So I slept enchanted under my loving tree, till from his late resting the sweet songster of night, rousing, awakened me. Then this, the bird's note, was the voice of thy throat, which thou gavest me to kiss. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Noel, Christmas Eve 1913 by Robert Bridges. Read for LibriVox.org by Sonia. Noel, Christmas Eve 1913. Pax hominibus bonae voluntatis. A frosty Christmas Eve, when the stars were shining, fared I forth alone where westward falls the hill, and from many a village in the watered valley distant music reached me, peals of bells a-ringing. The constellated sounds ran sprinkling on earth's floor, as the dark vault above with stars was spangled over. Then sped my thought to keep that first Christmas of all, when the shepherds watching by their folds ere the dawn heard music in the fields, and marvelling could not tell whether it were angels or the bright stars singing. Now blessed be the towers that crown England so fair, that stand up strong in prayer unto God for our souls. Blessed be their founders, said I, and our country folk who are ringing for Christ in the belfries to night, with arms lifted to clutch the rattling ropes that race into the dark above and the mad romping din. But to me heard afar it was starry music, angels' song, comforting as the comfort of Christ when he spake tenderly to his sorrowful flock. The old words came to me by the riches of time mellowed and transfigured, as I stood on the hill, hearkening in the aspect of the eternal silence. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. In der Fremde by Robert Bridges. Read for LibriVox.org by Sonia. In der Fremde. Ah, wild-hearted wanderer, far in the world away, restless, nor knowest why, only thou canst not stay, and now turnest trembling, hearing the wind to sigh. 'Twas thy lover calling, whom thou didst leave forby. So faint and yet so far and yet so fain, return, beloved, to me, but thou must onward strain. Thy trembling is in vain, as thy wandering shall be. What so well thou lovest, thou never more shalt see. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. The Philosopher and His Mistress by Robert Bridges. Read for LibriVox.org by Sonia. The Philosopher and His Mistress. We watched the wintry moon suffer her full eclipse, riding at night's high noon beyond the earth's ellipse. The conquering shadow quelled her splendor in its robe, and darkling we beheld a dim and lurid globe. Yet felt thereat no dread, nor waited we to see the sullen dragon fled, the heavenly queen go free. So, if my heart of pain one hour overshadow thine, I fear for thee no stain, thou wilt come forth and shine. And far my sorrowing shade will slip to empty space, invisible, but made happier for that embrace. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. Narcissus by Robert Bridges. Read for LibriVox.org by Sonia. Narcissus. Almighty wondrous everlasting, whether in a cradle of astral whirl-fire, or globed in a piercing star thou slumberest, the impassive body of God, thou deep in the core of earth, almighty, from numbing stress and gloom profound, madest escape in life desirous, to embroider her thin-spun robe. 'Twas down in a wood, they tell, in a running water thou sawest thyself, or leaning over a pool. The sedges were twinned at the mirror's brim, the sky was there, and the trees, almighty, a bird of a bird, and white clouds floating, and seeing thou knewest thine own image, to love it beyond all else. Then wondering didst thou speak of beauty, and wisdom of art, and worship, didst build the fanes of Zeus and Apollo, the high cathedrals of Christ. All that we love is thine, almighty, heartfelt music and lyric song, language the eager grasp of knowledge, all that we think is thine. But whence, beauteous everlasting, whence and whither? Hast thou mistaken? Or dost forget? Look again, thou seest a shadow, and not thyself. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. Our Lady by Robert Bridges. Read for LibriVox.org by Sonia. Our Lady. 1. Goddess, azure-mantled and aureoled, that standing barefoot upon the moon, or throned as a queen of the earth, tranquilly smilest to hold the child God in thine arms. Whence thy glory? Art not she the country maiden of Galilee, simple in dowerless poverty, who from humble cradle to grave hadst no thought of this wonder? When to man dull of heart dawned at length graciously thy might of motherhood, the starry truth beamed on his home. Then with insight exalted he gave thee the trappings, Lady, wherewith his art delighteth to picture his spirit to sense, and that grace is immortal. Fount of creative love, mother of the Word eternal, atoning man with God, who set thee apart as a garden enclosed from nature's all-producing wilds, to rear the richest fruit of the life, ever continuing out from him, urgent since the beginning. 2. Behold, man setteth thine image in the height of heaven, and hallowing his untempered love, crowneth and throneth thee adored, tranquilly joyous to hold the man-child in thine arms. godlike apart from conflict, to save thee, to guard thy weak caressive beauty with incontaminate jewels of soul, courage, patience, and self devotion. All this glory he gave thee. Secret and slow is nature, imperceptibly moving with surely determinate aim. To woman it fell to be early in prime, ready to labor, mold, and cherish the delicate head of all production, the wistful late maturing boy, who made knowing of being. Therefore art thou adored, mother of God in man, naturing nurse of power. They who adore not thee shall perish, but thou shalt keep thy path of joy, envied of angels, because the All-Father called thee to mother his nascent word and complete the creation. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. The Curfew Tower by Robert Bridges. Read for LibriVox.org by Sonia. The Curfew Tower. Through innocent eyes at the world a-wandering, nothing spake to me more superbly than the round bastion of Windsor's wall, that warding the castle's southern angle, an old inheritor of Norman prowess, was called by the folk the Curfew Tower. Above the masonry's rugged courses, a turreted clock of Caroline fashion told time to the town in black and gold. It charmed the hearts of Henry's scholars, as kingly a mentor of English story as Homer's poem is of Ilion. Nor ever in the landscape looked it fairer than when we saw its white bulk haloed in a lattice of slender scaffoldings. Month by month on the airy platforms workmen laboured hacking and hoisting, till again the tower was stripped to the sun. The old tower? Nay, a new tower stood there, from footing to battlemented skyline, and topped with a cap the slice of a cone. Archaeologic and counterfeited, the smoothest thing in all the High Street, as Eton scholars to-day may see. They, wherever else they find their wonder, and feed their boyhood on time's enchantment, see never the tower that spoke to me. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. Flycatchers by Robert Bridges. Read for LibriVox.org by Sonia. Flycatchers. Sweet pretty fledglings, perched on the rail a row, expectantly happy, where ye can watch below your parents a-hunting in the meadow grasses, all the gay morning, to feed you with flies. Ye recall me a time 60 summers ago, when, a young chubby chap, I sat just so with others on a school form ranked in a row, not less eager and hungry than you, I trow, with intelligences agape and eyes aglow, while an authoritative old wiseacre stood over us and from a desk fed us with flies. Dead flies, such as litter the library's south window, that buzzed at the panes until they fell stiff-baked on the sill, or are rolled up asleep in the blinds at sunrise, or wafered flat in a shrunken folio. A dry biped he was, nurtured likewise on skins and skeletons, stale from top to toe, with all manner of rubbish and all manner of lies. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. Ghosts by Robert Bridges. Read for LibriVox.org by Sonia. Ghosts. Mazing around my mind, like moss at a shaded candle, in my heart like lost bats in a cave fluttering, Mock ye the charm whereby I thought reverently to lay you, when to the wall I nailed your reticent effigies. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. Etosion Arthos Aururis by Robert Bridges. Read for LibriVox.org by Sonia. Etosion Arthos Aururis. Who goes there? God knows. I'm nobody. How should I answer? Can't jump over a gate nor run across the meadow. I'm but an old whitebeard of inane identity. Pass on. What's left of me today will very soon be nothing. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. Hell and Hate by Robert Bridges. Read for LibriVox.org by Sonia. Hell and Hate. Two demons thrust their arms out over the world. Hell with a ruddy torch of fire, and Hate with gasping mouth, striving to seize two children fair who played on the upper curve of the earth. Their shapes were vast as the thoughts of man, but the earth was small as the moon's rim appeareth scanned through an optic glass. The younger child stood erect on the earth as a charioteer in a car, or a dancer with arm upraised, her whole form, barely clad, from feet to golden head, leapt brightly against the uttermost azure, whereon the stars were splashes of light, dazed in the gulfing beds of space. The elder might have been styled to show the lady who led my boyish love, but her face was graver than ever to me when I looked in her eyes long ago, and the hair on her shoulders fallen nested its luminous brown in the downy spring of her wings. Her figure aneath was screened by the earth, whereof, so small that was no footing for her could be, she appeared to be sailing free in the glide and poise of her flight. Then knew I the angel Faith, who was guarding human love. Happy were both, of peaceful mien, contented as mankind longeth to be, not merry as children are, and showed no fear of the fiend's pursuit, as ever those demons clutched in vain, and I, who had feared a while to see such gentleness in such jeopardy, lost fear myself, for I saw the foes were slipping aback and had no hold on the round earth that sped its course. The painted figures never could move, but the artist's mind was there. The longer I looked, the more I knew they were falling, falling away below, to the darkness out of sight. December 16th, 1913. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Wake Up England by Robert Bridges. Read for LibriVox.org by Scott Kelly. Thou careless, awake. Thou peacemaker, fight. Stand England for honor, and God guard thy right. Thy mirth lay aside, thy cavil and play. The fiend is upon thee, and grave is the day. Through fire, air, and water, thy trial must be, but they that love life best die gladly for thee. Much suffering shall cleanse thee, but thou through the flood shalt win to salvation, to beauty through blood. Up, careless, awake, ye peacemakers fight, Stand, England, for honor, and God guard the right. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Lord Kitchener by Robert Bridges. Read for LibriVox.org by Sonia. Lord Kitchener, unflinching hero, watchful to foresee and face thy country's peril wheresoever, directing war and peace with equal care, till by long toil ennobled thou wert he whom England called and bade, set my arm free to obey my will and save my honour fair. What day the foe presumed on her despair, and she herself had trust in none but thee. Among Herculean deeds, the miracle that massed the labour of 10 years in one shall be thy monument. Thy work is done ere we could thank thee, and the high sea swell surgeth unheeding where thy proud ship fell by the lone Orkneys at the set of sun. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. Ode on the Tercentenary Commemoration of Shakespeare, 1916, by Robert Bridges. Read for LibriVox.org by Sonia. Ode on the Tercentenary Commemoration of Shakespeare, 1916. Kind, dove-winged peace, for whose green olive crown the noblest kings would give their diadems. Mother, who hast ruled our home so long, how suddenly art thou fled, leaving our cities astir with war, and yet on the fair fields deserted lingerest, wherever the gaudy seasons deck with excessive splendour the sorrow-stricken year, where cornlands bask and high elms rustle gently, and still the unweeting birds sing on thy brae and bourne. The trumpet blareth and calleth the true to be stern, be then thy soft reposeful music dumb. Yet shall thy lovers awhile give ear, though in war's garb they come, to the praise of England's gentlest son, whom when she bore the Muses loved above the best of eldest honour, yea, save one without peer, and by great Homer set, not to impugn his undisputed throne, the myriad-hearted by the mighty-hearted one. For God his gifts poured on him a full measure, and gave him to know nature and the ways of man, to dower with inexhaustible treasure a world-conquering speech, which surged as a river high descended, that gathering tributaries of many lands rolls through the plain a bounteous flood, picturing towers and temples and ruin of bygone times, and floateth the ships deep laden with merchandise out on the windy seas to traffic in foreign climes. Thee, Shakespeare, to-day we honour, and evermore, since England bore thee, the master of human song. Thy folk are we, children of thee, who knitting in one her realm, and strengthening with pride her sea-born clans, scorn'st in the grave the bruise of death. All thy later laurelled choir laud thee in thy world shrine. London's laughter is thine. One with thee is our temper in melancholy or might, and in thy book Great Britain's rule readeth her right. Her chains are chains of freedom, and her bright arms honour, justice, and truth and love to man. Though first from a pirate ancestry she took her home on the wave, her gentler spirit arose disdainful, and smiting the fetters of slavery, made the high seaways safe and free, in wisdom bidding aloud to world-wide brotherhood, till her flag was hailed as the ensign of liberty, and the boom of her guns went round the earth in salvos of peace. And thou, when nature bowed her mastering hand to borrow an ecstasy of man's art from thee, thou her poet secure as she of the shows of eternity, didst never fear thy work should fall to fashion's craze, nor pedant's folly, nor devastator whose arrogant arms murder and maim mankind; who, when in scorn of grace he hath battered and burnt some loveliest dearest shrine, laugheth in ire, and boasteth aloud his brazen god. I saw the angel of earth from strife aloof, mounting the heavenly stair with time on high, growing ever younger in the brightening air of the everlasting dawn. It was not terror in his eyes, nor wonder, that glance of the intimate exaltation, which lieth as power under all being, and broodeth in thought above, as a bird wingeth over the ocean, whether indolently the heavy water sleepeth, or is dashed in a million waves, chafing or lightly laughing. I hear his voice in the music of lamentation, in echoing chant and cadenced litany, in country song and pastoral piping, and silvery dances of mirth; and oft, as the eyes of a lion in the brake, his presence hath startled me, in austere shapes of beauty lurking, beautiful for beauty's sake, as a lonely blade of life ariseth to flower whensoever the unseen will stirreth with kindling aim the dark fecundity of being. Man knoweth but as in a dream of his own desire the thing that is good for man, and he dreameth well, but the lot of the gentle heart is hard, that is cast in an epoch of life when evil is knotted and demons fight, who know not, they, that the lowest lot is treachery, hate, and trust in sin, and perseverance in ill, doomed to oblivious hell, to pass with the shames unspoken of man away, washed out with their tombs by the grey unpitying tears of heaven. But ye, dear youth, who lightly in the day of fury put on England's glory as a common coat, and in your stature of masking grace stood forth warriors complete, no praise overshadoweth yours today, walking out of the home of love to match the deeds of all the dead. Alas! alas! fair peace, these were thy blossoming roses. Look on thy shame, fair peace, thy tearful shame. Turn to thine isle, fair peace, return thou and guard it well. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. The Chivalry of the Sea by Robert Bridges. Read for LibriVox.org by Sonia. The Chivalry of the Sea. Dedicated to the memory of Charles Fisher, late student of Christ Church, Oxford, lost in the Invincible. Over the warring waters, beneath the wandering skies, the heart of Britain roameth, the chivalry of the sea, where spring never bringeth a flower, nor bird singeth in a tree. Far, afar, O beloved, beyond the sight of our eyes, over the warring waters, beneath the stormy skies. Staunch and valiant hearted, to whom our toil were play, ye men with armored patience the bulwarks night and day, or on your iron courses plough shuddering through the bay, or 'neath the deluge drive the skirmishing sharks of war. Venturous boys, who leapt on the pinnace and rowed from shore, a mother's tear in the eye, a swift farewell to say, and a great glory at heart that none can take away. Seldom is your home coming, for aye your pennon flies in unrecorded exploits on the tumultuous wave, till, in the storm of battle, fast thundering upon the foe, ye add your kindred names to the heroes of long ago, and mid the blasting wreck, in the glad sudden death of the brave, ye are gone, to return no more. Idly our tears arise, too proud for praise, as ye lie in your unvisited grave, the wide warring water under the starry skies. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. For Pages Inédites, etc. by Robert Bridges. Read for LibriVox.org by Sonia. For Pages Inédites, etc. April 1916. By our dear sons' graves, fair France, thou art now to us endeared, since no more as of old stand the English against thee in fight, but rallying to defend thee, they die guarding thy beauty from blind, envious hate and perfidy leagued with might. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. Geelveld by Robert Bridges. Read for LibriVox.org by Sonia. Geelveld. Epitaph on the Worcesters, October 31st, 1914. Askest thou of these graves, they'll tell thee, O stranger, in England, how we Worcesters lie, where we redeemed the battle. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The West Front by Robert Bridges. Read for LibriVox.org by Scott Kelly. An English mother on looking into Maysfield old front line. No country know I so well as this landscape of hell. Why bring you to my pain these shallowed effigies of barbed wire, riven trees, the corpse-strewn blasted plain? In the names, Hebutney, Bethune, and Labassy, I have nothing to learn. Contal Mason, Boiselle, and one where night and day my heart would pray and dwell. A desert sanctuary, where in holy vigil, year long I've held my faith, against the imaginings of horror and agony in an ordeal above. The tears of suffering and took aid of angels. This was the temple of God, no mortuary of kings. Ever gathered the spoils of chivalry and love. No pilgrim shine sore hath assembled such prayer, with rich incense waft, ritual and requiem, not Beauty's battered Reims, nor Lord Jerusalem. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. To the United States by Robert Bridges. Read for LibriVox.org by Scott Kelly. April 1917. Brothers in blood, they who this wrong began, to wreck our commonwealth will rue the day, when first they challenged free men to the fray, and with the Briton dared the American. Now are we pledged to win the rights of man. Labor and justice now shall have their way, and in a league of peace, God grant we way. Transform the earth, not patch up the old plan. Sure is our hope, since he, who led your nation, spake for mankind, and ye arose in awe of that high call to work, the world's salvation. Clearing your minds of all estranging blindness, in the vision of beauty, in the Spirit's law, freedom and honor, and sweet loving kindness. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. Trafalgar Square by Robert Bridges. Read for LibriVox.org by Scott Kelly. September 1917. Fool that I was, my heart was sore. Ye sick for the myriad wounded men, the maimed in the war, I had grief for each one. And I came in the gay September sun to the open smile of Trafalgar Square, where many a lad with a limb fordone, lulled by the lion-guarded column that holdeth Nelson statued therein, upright in the air. The Parliament towers and the Abbey towers, the white horse guards in grey Whitehall, he looketh on all. Past Somerset House in the river's bend, to the pillared dome of St. Paul, that slumbers confessing God's solemn blessing on England's glory to keep it ours, while children true her prowess renew, and throng from the ends of the earth to defend freedom and honor till earth shall end. The gentle, unjealous Shakespeare, I trow, in the country tomb of peaceful fame, must feel exiled from life and glow, if he think of this man in his warrior claim, who looketh the London as if 'twere his own, as he standeth in stone, aloft and alone, sailing the sky with one arm and one eye. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. Christmas Eve, 1917, by Robert Bridges. Read for LibriVox.org by Scott Kelly. Many happy returns, sweet babe of the day. Didn't not thou sow good seed in the world thy field? Camest thou to save the poor? Thy poor yet pine. Thousands today suffer death pangs like thine. Our jewels of life in split on the ground as dross. 10,000 mothers stand beneath the cross. Peace to men of good will was the angel's song. Now there is a fiercer war, worse filth and wrong. If thou didst not good seed, is this the yield? Shall not thy folk be quelled in dead dismay? Nay, with a larger hope we are fed and healed. Then error was revealed by the saints who died so strong. While men slept, the seed had quickened unseen. England is a field whereon the corn is green. Of trial and dark tribulation this vision is born. Britain as a field green with the springing corn. While we slumbered the seed was growing unseen. Happy returns of the day, dear babe, we say. England has buried her sins with her father's bones. Thou shalt be throned on the ruin of knightly thrones. The wish of thine heart is rooted in carnal mind. For good seed didst thou sow in the world thy field. It shall ripen in gold in harvest an hundredfold.
Peace shall come as a flood upon all mankind. Love shall comfort and succor the poor that are pined. Wherever our gentle children are wandered and sped, simple apostles thine of the world to come, they carry the living seed of the living bread, the angel song and the gospel of Christendom. That while the nation slept was springing unseen. So though we be sorely stricken, we feel no dread. 1,000 sons suffer death pangs like thine. It shall ripen in gold, and harvest in hundredfold. Peace and love shall hallow our care and teen, shall bind in fellowship all the folk of the earth, to kneel at thy cradle, babe, and bless thy birth. Ring we the bells up and down in country and town, and keep the old feast unholpen of preacher or priest, wishing thee happy returns in thy mother May, even happier and happier returns, dear Christ, on thy day. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. To the President of the United States of America, by Robert Bridges. Read for LibriVox.org by Scott Kelly. August 1918. See England's stalwart daughter, who made emprise 'gainst her own mother, freeborn of the free, who slew her sons for her slaves' liberty. See from mankind her majesty arise, from her new world her unattained eyes. Espy deliverance and her bold decree speaks for Great Britain's wide confederacy. The folk shall rule, if only thy be wise. Ambition, hate, revenge, the secret sway of priest and king's craft shall be done away. By faith and beauty, chivalry and good, one God made all, and will all wrongs forgive, save their hell heart who stab man's hope to live in mutual freedom, peace, and brotherhood. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. Our Prisoners of War in Germany by Robert Bridges. Read for LibriVox.org by Scott Kelly. October 1918. Prisoners to a foe inhuman, oh, but our hearts rebel. Defenseless victims ye are, in claws of spite a prey. Conquering your torturers, enduring night and day, malice year-long drawn out your noble spirits to quell. Fearsomer than death, this rack they ranged, and reckoned well. 'Twould harrow our homes, and plied such devilish aim had they, that England roused to rage should wrong with wrong repay, and smirch her envied honor in deeds unspeakable. Nor trouble we just haven that quick revenge be done on Satan's chamberlains high-seated in Berlin. Their reek floats round the world on all lands neath the sun. Thou in craven Germany has no man found, not one. With spirit enough to cry shame, nay, but on such sin follows perdition eternal, and it has begun. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. Harvest Home by Robert Bridges. Read for LibriVox.org by Scott Kelly. Verses to the Americans on their Thanksgiving Day. Celebrated in England, November 28th, 1918. A toast for West and East. Drink on this Thursday feast, last in November, the year when Albion's lands across the sea join hands. Drink and remember. 1918 fulfilled, the kindly purpose willed, by the ever-living, when first in hope upstayed, the Pilgrim Fathers made harvest thanksgiving. And since the seed bore fruit, which they went forth to root in the wilderness, ye now return to find the rose that they resigned with their distresses. 'Twas when the wide world o'er, whatever peaceful shore Britons inherit, Britons claimed right of birth and fought hell in the mirth of Shakespeare's spirit. Then your true heart was stirred, your arm raised, and your word went forth forecasting that the great war should cease in British bonds of peace, peace everlasting. The good God bless this day, and we forever and aye keep our love living till all men 'neath heaven's dome sing freedom's harvest home in one Thanksgiving. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. To Australia by Robert Bridges. Read for LibriVox.org by Scott Kelly. With the wounded and the survivors of 1914 returning home in autumn 1918. A loving message at Christmastide sent round the world to the underside. A sail in the ship that across the foam carries the wounded Aussies home, who rallied at war's far thundering call, when England stood with her back to the wall, to fight for freedom that ne'er shall die, so long as on earth the old flag fly. O heart so loving, eager and bold, whose praise hath claim to be writ on the sky, in letters of gold, of fire and gold. Never shall prouder tale be told than how ye fought at the nights of old against the heathen in Turkey, in Flanders, Artois, and Picardy. But above all triumph that else ye have won. This is the goodliest deed ye have done, to have sealed with blood in a desperate day the love bond that binds us for ever and aye. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. The Excellent Way by Robert Bridges. Read for LibriVox.org by Scott Kelly. Man's mind that hath this earth for home hath to it spread starry dome, where thought is lost in going free. He first in slumberous babyhood, took conscience of his heavenly good, then with his sins grown up to youth, wept at the vision of God's truth. Soon in his heart new hopes awoke, as poet sang or prophet spoke. Temples arose, and stone he taught, to stand agaze entranced thought. He won the trembling ear to tell of far passions ineffable, feeding the hungry things of sense with instincts of omniscience. Immortal moods that should abide, cherished by love of pious pride, that unborn children might inherit the triumph of his Holy Spirit, outbidding nature to entice her soul from her own paradise, till her wild face had fallen to shame, had he not praised her in God's name. Alas, poor man, with blockish curse, would violate thy universe, to enchain thy freedom and entomb thy pleasance in devouring gloom. Behold thy savage foes of yore, with woes of pestilence and war. Sever and Moloch, Odin and Thor, rise from their graves to greed amain the deeds that gave them life again. Poor man, sunk deeper than thy slime, and blood and hate, and terror and crime, thou who wert lifted on the wings of thy desire, the King of Kings, and promise beyond ken sublime, O thou man's soul, who mightiest climb to heavenly happiness, whereof thine easy path were mirth and love. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. England to India by Robert Bridges. Read for LibriVox.org by Scott Kelly. Christmas, 1918. Beautiful is man's home, how fair, wrapped in her robe of azure air. The earth, through stress of ice and fire, came on the path of God's desire, redeeming chaos to compose exquisite forms of lily and rose, with every creature a design of loveliness or craft divine, searchable and unthinkable, and each insect a miracle. Truth is as beauty unconfined, various as nature is man's mind. Each race and tribe is as a flower, set in God's garden with its dower of special instinct and man's grace. Compact of all must all embrace. China and Ind, Hellas of France, each hath its own inheritance, and each to truth's rich market brings its bright divine imaginings, in rival tribute to surprise the world with native merchandise, nor least in worth, nor last in years, of artists, poets, saints, and seers. England, in her far northern sea, fashioned the jewel of liberty, fetched from the shore of Palestine, land of the lily and mystic vine, where once in the everlasting dawn Christ's love star flamed, that heavenly sign, where to all nations shall be drawn unfabled magi and uplift, each to love's cradle his own gift. Thou who canst dream and understand, dost thou not dream for thine own land? This dream of truth, and contemplate that happier world, love's free estate. Say, didst thou dream, O sister fair, how hand in hand we entered there? End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. Britannia Victrix by Robert Bridges. Read for LibriVox.org by Scott Kelly. Careless wast thou in thy pride, queen of seas and countries wide, glorying on thy peaceful throne. Can thy love thy sins atone? What shall dreams of glory serve, if thy sloth thy doom deserve? When the strong relentless foe storm thy gates to lay thee low. Careless, he saw thy leap, mighty from thy startled sleep, heard afar thy challenge ring, 'twas the world's awakening. Welcome to thy children all, rallying to thee without call. Oversee the sportive sons from thy vast dominions, stern in onset or defense, terrible in their confidence. Dauntless wast thou, fair goddess, 'neath the cloud of thy distress. Fierce and mirthful wast thou seen, in thy toil and in thy teen, while the nations looked to thee, spent in worldwide agony. Oft throughout that long ordeal, dark with horror-stricken duty, nature on thy heart would steal, beckoning thee with heavenly beauty, heightening ever on thine isle all her seasons' tranquil smile, till thy soul, anew converted, roaming o'er the fields deserted, by thy sorrow sanctified, found a place wherein to hide. Soon fresh beauty lit thy face, then thou stoodest in heaven's high grace. Sudden in air, on land and sea, swelled the voice of victory. Now when jubilant bells resound, and thy sons come laurel crowned, after all thy years of woe, thou no longer canst forego, now thy tears are loosed to flow. Land, dear land, whose sea-built shore nurseth warriors evermore, land, whence freedom far and lone round the earth her speech has thrown, like a planet's luminous zone, in thy strength and calm defiance, hold mankind in love's alliance. Beauteous art thou, but the foes of thy beauty are not those who lie tangled and dismayed, fearless one, but yet afraid, lest thyself condemn in the wrong that ruined them. God, who chose thee and upraised 'mong the folks, his name be praised, prove thee then by chastisement worthy of his high intent, who, because thou couldst endure, saved thee free and purged thee pure, won thee thus his grace to win, for thy love forgave thy sin, for thy truth forgave thy pride, queen of seas and countries wide. He who led thee still will guide. Hark, thy sons, those spirits fresh, dearly housed in dazzling flesh, thy full brightening buds of strength, ere their day had any length. Crushed and fallen, in torment sorest, hark, the sons whom thou deplorest. Call, I hear one call, he saith, Mother, weep not for my death. 'Twas to guard our home from hell, 'twas to make thy joy I fell, praising God, and all is well. What if now thy heart should quail, and in peace our victory fail? If low greed in guise of right should consume thy gathered might, in thy power mankind to save, fall and perish on our grave. On my grave, whose legend be, fought with the brave and joyfully, died in faith of victory. Follow on the way we won. Thou hast found, not lost, thy son. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. Der Tag, Nelson and Betty by Robert Bridges. Read for LibriVox.org by Scott Kelly. A broadsheet. No doubt 'twas a truly Christian sight when the German ships came out of the Blight, but it can't be said it was much of a fight that gray November morning. That wonderful day, the great Der Tag, which Persians had vowed with unmannerly brag, should see old England lower her flag some gray November morning. The spirit of Nelson that haunts the fleet had come whereabouts the ships must meet, but he feared there was some decoy or cheat that gray November morning, when the enemy led by a British scout stole twixt our lines, and never a shout or a signal, and never a gun spoke out that gray November morning. So he shaped his course to the admiral's ship, where Betty stood with hand on hip, impassive, nor ever moved his lip that gray November morning. In touching his shoulder, he said, "My mate, am I come too soon, or am I too late? Is it friendly maneuvers or pageant of state, this gray November morning?" Then Betty said, "As Admiral here, in the name of the King I bid you good cheer. It's not my fault that it looks so queer, that gray November morning. But there come the enemy, all in queues. They can fight well enough, if only they choose. Small blame to me if the fools refuse, this gray November morning." That's Admiral Reuter, surrendering 9 great dreadnoughts, all first rates of the line. Beyond, in the haze that veils that brine, this gray November morning, loom 5 heavy cruisers and light ones 4, with a tail of destroyers 50 or more, each squadron under its commodore, this gray November morning. The least of all those captive queens could have knocked your whole navy to smithereens, and nothing said of the other machines on a gray November morning. The airplanes and the submarines, bombs, torpedoes, and zeppelins, their floating mines and their smoky screens of a gray November morning. They'll rage like bulls, sans reason and rhyme, and next day, as if 'twere a pantomime, they walk in like cows at milking time on a gray November morning. We're 4 years sick of the pestilent mob. You've heard of our biblical battle and gob. At times it was hardly a gentleman's job of a gray November morning. Then Nelson said, God bless thy soul. How things are changed in this age of coal. For the spittle it isn't with you, I'd condole, this gray November morning. By George, you've netted a monstrous catch. You'll be able to pen the best dispatch that ever an admiral wrote under hatch on a gray November morning. I like your looks and I like your name. My heart goes out to the old fleet's fame. And I'm pleased to find you so spry at the game this gray November morning. Your ships, thou I don't half understand. Their build, a stouter and better manned than anything I ever had in command of a gray November morning. Then Betty spoke, Sir, none of my crew, all bravest of brave and truest of true, is thinking of me so much as of you this gray November morning. And Nelson replied, Well, thanks for your chat. Forgive my intrusion. I take off my hat and make you my bow. We'll leave it at that this gray November morning. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. Two Burns by Robert Bridges. Read for LibriVox.org by Scott Kelly. Toast for the Greenock Club dinner, January 1914. Two Burns, brave Scotia's laureled son, who drove his plough on Helicon, who with his Doric rhyme erewhile taught English bards to mend their style, and by the humour of his pen fairly befooled old Nickel Ben. Blithe Robbie Burns, we love thee well, because thou wert so like they sell. And in full cups with festive cheer, we toast thy fame from year to year. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Poor Child by Robert Bridges. Read for LibriVox.org by Bruce Kachuk. On a mournful day when my heart was lonely, o'er and o'er my thought conned but one thing only, thinking how I lost, wandering in the wild wood, the companion self of my careless childhood. How, poor child, it was, I shall ne'er discover, but 'twas just when he grew to be thy lover, with thine eyes of trust and thy mirth, whereunder all the world's hope lay in thy heart of wonder. Now, beyond regrets and faint memories of thee, saddest is, poor child, that I cannot love thee. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. To Percy Buck by Robert Bridges. Read for LibriVox.org by Bruce Kachuk. Folk alien to the Muse have hemmed us round, and fiends have sucked our blood. Our best delight is poisoned, and the year's infective blight hath made almost a silence of sweet sound. But you, what fortune, Percy, have you found at Harrow? Doth fair hope your toil requite? Doth beauty win her praise, and truth her right? Or hath the good seed fallen on stony ground? Ply the art ever nobly, single-souled like Brahms, or as you ruled in Wells erewhile, nor yet the memory of that zeal is cold, where lately I, who love the purer style, entered and felt your spirit as of old beside me, listening in the chancel aisle. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. To Harry Ellis Wooldridge by Robert Bridges. Read for LibriVox.org by Bruce Kachuk. Love and the Muse have left their home, now bare of memorable beauty. All is gone. The dedicated charm of Yattendon, which thou wert apt, dear Hal, to build and share. What noble shades are flitting, who, whileare haunted the ivied walls, where time ran on in sanctities of joy, by reverence won, music and choral grace and studies fair. These on some kindlier field may fate restore, and may the old house prosper, dispossessed of her whose equal it can nevermore hold till it crumble. Oh, nay, and the door will moulder ere it open on a guest to match thee in thy wisdom and thy jest. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. Fortunatus Nemium by Robert Bridges. Read for LibriVox.org by Bruce Kachuk. I have lain in the sun, I have toiled as I might, I have thought as I would, and now it is night. My bed full of sleep, my heart of content, for friends that I met, the way that I went. I welcome fatigue, while frenzy and care, like thin summer clouds, go melting in air. To dream as I may, and awake when I will, with the song of the birds, and the sun on the hill. Or death, were it death, to what should I wake, who loved in my home all life for its sake? What good have I wrought? I laugh to have learned that joy cannot come unless it be earned. For a happier lot than God giveth me, it never hath been, nor ever shall be. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. Democritus by Robert Bridges. Read for LibriVox.org by Bruce Kachuk. Joy of your opulent atoms! Wouldst thou dare say that thought also of atoms self became, waving to soul, as light had the eye in aim? And so with things of bodily sense compare those native notions that the heavens declare. Space and time, beauty and God, praise we His name. Real ideas, that on tongues of flame from out mind's cooling paste leapt unaware. Thy spirit, Democritus, orbed in the eterne, illimitable galaxy of night, shineth undimmed where greater splendors burn of sage and poet. By their influence bright we are held, and pouring from his quenchless urn, Christ, with immortal love beams, laves the height. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. End of October and Other Poems by Robert Bridges.